Hi everyone, welcome back. Episode 5 of Season 6 of the Canary Room. It's a bitterly cold Canary Room today. What have we got coming up on the show? Well, we've got a little trip to Stafford. I did a little bit of filming at Stafford, the Stafford Spring Sale. It was just a sale though, and great to catch up with loads of people. Saw lots and lots of people there. I must say, before I kick the show off, a massive thank you to Mr. Finch for this wonderful, wonderful jar of West Sussex honey. So, Mr. Finch, I met you yesterday, gave me a jar of his homemade honey. Absolutely delighted. I'll be having that on my porridge, so thank you very much indeed. And it was lovely to see you. And it was lovely to see everyone who stopped by to say hello at Stafford. Really, really enjoyed it. So what have we got on the show today? Well, we've got some new arrivals that we picked up at Stafford. I'd ordered them. There have been some departures to make room for them before everybody starts worrying. And then we've got a little bit of an update in the room and an update on a new show coming to YouTube very soon. In fact, coming to YouTube next week. So a little bit more about that later on. We did a vote on the Facebook page. If you're not following us on Facebook, have a little look on Facebook as well. Have a little look there because we do lots of bits of interaction on Facebook. So look, everyone, you know what to do. There's mine. Grab yourself a cuppa, sit back, and as always, enjoy the show. So, I had planned in this episode to show you all of the hens moved across its second weekend in March, and I had planned to move the hens into their breeding cages. I haven't done that, and I haven't done it because the weather here in the UK has taken a turn for a little bit of cold. Now, I knew this cold snap was coming, which was one of the reasons I delayed sort of moving the birds anyway. But I've left the hens in the flights, with the exception of some of the grey wings, the red-black grey wing hens, and some of the feeder hens. So I've singled them off and separated them off. But all of the other hens still remain in the flight cages. So the Norwich hens and the Fife hens and the Border hen are still in the flight cages at the moment. Cold weather, I know some people have got eggs, I know some people have got chicks, I know some people have got chicks away, and I'm delighted for all of them. But I'd made a plan anyway to sort of not start my breeding season too early. It looks like I'm going to move the hens maybe in the next 7 to 10 days or so. Let this cold snap go out the way. It's forecast to last for about a week. It is bitterly cold today. So as I'm filming the show, so I haven't done what I thought I would do at this stage. Lighting wise, we're on about 12 and a half hours light now, so that's good. That's getting up to 13 and a half, which they'll need for breeding condition. Feeding regime, slow and steady still. We're giving egg food, giving greens. One of the things I did yesterday, I had Savoy cabbage, outer leaves, washed it, popped it in with the Fife hens, and they absolutely loved it. They were pecking over it, they were bathing in it, they were doing all kinds of things, and that was good to see. And then one of the other things that I've done with the Fife hens, and it's something that you can do as well, just to see how the birds are coming into condition, is I popped a little bit of nesting material in. Now, you'll see, I put a video out a couple of weeks back, just a little short video, how you can tell when birds are in breeding condition. And one of the things that you can spot when birds are in breeding condition is they will move the nesting material to the back of the beak. Now, these birds, you can see, Fifes are inquisitive little birds. One of the reasons I love them so much. Inquisitive little birds. They're starting to peck at this, not really building up, not really shuffling in corners. So slow slow and steady build up for them. That's what I've been advocating this year. That's what I've done this year. Hopefully it will prove and provide dividends for me. And the thought process behind it is a relatively simple one. My birds' show season generally goes on until December. So if you think about the seasons of birds, I had a show season which goes from sort of early October until the end of December. So 3 months really there. Then you've obviously got the molt, and molt takes 6 to 8 weeks. And then the breeding season. And then the rest season. And what I was finding as I was breeding the birds earlier and earlier was the rest season was condensing. So the birds didn't have a lot of time to rest. Now, what I've done this year, which has been slightly different, is I finished my last show in middle of November. I put the birds in flight cages around about mid to end of November. And then they've had all of November, all of December, all of January, and certainly the hens, all of February. So that's 3 months in flight cages, and then they'll get another 2 weeks maybe. And so it'll be 4 months before we really start breeding season in earnest. So they'll have a 4-month rest period. Now, look, whether this works, whether this is going to make any difference to them, only time will tell. So stay tuned and find out. I mentioned at the top of the show that there had been some new arrivals in the Canary Room. There's also been some departures from the Canary Room. Now, a couple of those departures were intended. So I had a pair of red poles for a good friend of mine. I let him have a pair. I knew I had some birds earmarked to come in, so that wasn't going to be a problem. Very happy to help out. One of the departures has been unplanned. It was a 2021 bred, heavily variegated buffcock. A bird I bred some very nice young off last year. So I have 3 dark buffcock birds. This was one of them. I'd kept it because I wanted to use it this year. It was only going to be a pair, but I kept it because I wanted to use it this year. Very, very nice bird. It's looked under the weather, if I'm truthfully honest. I singled it off. Didn't look great when I first singled it off. Gave it a little bit of conditioning seed, put a treatment on it, and it's just gone downhill. And we lost that this morning. So that puts pay a little bit to the breeding plans, because what that means is that I have 2 buffcocks. I just went out of shot then because the other buffcock that I've got, a green buffcock in the top cage here, all of a sudden I couldn't see. So for a moment I thought the worst. But no, we've got 2 buffcocks for the breeding season. So that's okay. It means I will only run one as a pair, and I'll run the other. I might choose to run it as a trio. I'm not sure, but in all likelihood, I'll run one as a trio and the other one as a pair. If not, I'll run both of them as trios. So, you know, these things happen. There remain some challenges for us still in the Canary Room, and because there's a maturity of the birds and the sexual maturity of the birds, we've got some hens in here that I think are hens but may turn out still to be cockbirds, and we've got some cockbirds that I think may turn out to be hens. So one of the challenges with these, you know, the line of canaries I've got, the line of fifes I've got, is that difficult to visually sex because the hens have got really good colour to them. So that's what you want hens with really good colour. And the hens sing, and some of the hens will really, really belt it out. Now, many of you may or may not have seen on Facebook, Matt Dando had a video of a blue bird, blue fife canary, absolutely belting song out, absolutely belting song out. Asked me, you know, what did I think it was? I said, it's a cock. You know, looking at it, it's a cock. He vent sexed it. I said, it looks like a hen. It laid an egg. It was a hen. But honestly, you saw that bird sing. I'll see if I can get a video from Matt and I'll pop it on the show if I'm able to. You saw that bird sing and you'd have sworn it was a cock. So it's difficult. You can hear the birds in the room now. You can hear the cock singing. You know, it's a really loud, lustful song. You'd have sworn it. I've seen a couple of the birds in here. One of the whites in here I've seen warble a little bit. I'm pretty convinced now the other white I've got here is a hen. So that's fine. And actually one of the clears which I've seen warble, I'm not 100% sure whether that's a cock or hen yet either. So they don't seem to be at that sort of sexual maturity. When you think about vent sexing birds, you know, vent sexing birds is relatively straightforward to do when they're in breeding condition and they're sexually mature. When they're not, it isn't. Certainly I don't find it easy to do anyway. So there'll be more trials and tribulations, I'm sure, over the coming weeks and months in the Canary room as we work out what's what. Of course, we don't have that problem with the mosaics, the red, black, grey wings. So they are identifiable, which is one of the reasons I love them so much. We've got 3 pairs for this year, so 3 straight pairs. I've still got one of the original hens I got off Julian. I don't know, it reared for me last year. It reared a nest of 5 for me last year, and it was a brilliant hen. It looks fit. It's on a red ring, so I don't know how old that makes it, to be honest. 4 or 5 years old, something like that. It's the oldest bird, oldest canary anyway I've got in the shed. So we'll see how that goes. Got a young bird for her to go with. And then the rest of the hens here, they're just going to stay in there, as I say, probably for another week or so. So I mentioned it at the top of the show. We've been to Stafford. So let's take a quick look now at our trip to Stafford. Me and Al. Here we are, look at us. Beautiful people. Al's got a check shirt on as well. He has, haven't you, Al?
I have, yeah.
Well done, Al. We're here, we've arrived in Stafford. We're here, it's bloody cold. I wish I'd put a bigger coat on. Al's wrapped up very nicely. I am Baltic. See you in a bit. Here we are. Look at these handsome men we've found. Look. It was great to see so many familiar faces at Stafford. Absolutely brilliant to catch up with lots of people. Saw Sam from Sam One Bird Products. Obviously spent a lot of time with Shane and the lads. Caught up with loads of people. Saw Red Factor Man. Glenn, it's always a pleasure to see you. Had a really good day. I went with a very good friend of mine, Alan Horry. Now, Alan has, I've known Alan for a number of years now, and Alan has a number of very, very good quality red poles. He's renowned for his red poles. He also breeds goldfinches, and he has been developing over the last few years a line of twites. Now, I am very pleased to say that I have bought in, for my enjoyment and yours, a pair of twites from Alan. So we've got a pair of twites as a new arrival in the Canary room. So we picked those up yesterday. We also picked up another pair of red poles. So we've got a silver split hen and a pied cockbird to go in our red pole diaries. So looking forward to seeing how they do as well. So great trip to Stafford. Indebted again to Matt at Peckway. really appreciate that, Matt. I've got another 3 of the cages. I said I was going to pick them up. I have picked them up. So I've got 3 more of the big green cages that we've seen. See, this is the boot of the car. This is the boot of the car half empty, to be fair. So I've got seed, I've got all kinds of things. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see the white I got off Keith with nesting material in its beak. So I'm pretty convinced now that is definitely a hen. I mentioned Matt at Peckway, really, really nice cages, and we will go and see Matt. We are going to go and do an episode with Sam as well. And a huge thank you, as always, to Shane at Direct Bird Products. So I've got, and I will show you them in a second, I've got some show cages. Shane's been doing, he does a wonderful service for the hobby anyway. But he's done a wonderful service of getting a good supplier of show cages. So I picked up 8 Norwich show cages. So I just need to breed some now and get some on the show bench. So that was Stafford. We had a little look around. We met some old friends. We met some new friends as well. So everyone who came to say hello, thank you. I really appreciated it. It was lovely, lovely, lovely to see you all there. So coming up next is, well, something new for 2023. I am hugely grateful to everyone who has subscribed to the channel, and over the last sort of few months, as I put this show together, we've got the on the road episodes. We know that we'll continue to go and see fanciers across the UK from a variety of different breeds and species, and we'll continue to do that here on the Canary Room. But over the last few months, I've been thinking, how can I increase what we do? Everybody seems to enjoy the channel without really impacting on the main show. So over the weekend just gone, I put a polling vote out on Facebook, on our Facebook page, and I proposed the idea of a new show. And the new show will be a spin-off really from the Canary Room. It will be an 8-minute to 10-minute long show every other Sunday. So what that will mean is that there will be some form of content, some form of episode from the Canary Room every week, starting now. So our new show will debut next week. It is the Native Diaries. We've had the Native Diaries as a bit of a spin-off, and we've had it as a feature last year. We're going to, and the year before, I think we're going to return to the Redpole Diaries. So the main Canary Room episode will have the Redpole Diaries in, and then there will be a spin-off feature of the Native Diaries. So I'm going to film it slightly differently as well, although don't worry, check shirts will still be there, I'm sure. I am going to film it slightly differently, but we will focus on the native birds that we've got in the room. And when it comes to native birds, of course, what do I mean by that? Well, I mean the siskins, I mean the twites. We'll have a little look at the redpoles. But I mean, one of the things that we haven't really talked about much on the show is just out of shot at the top here, we've got 3 pairs of mewling birds. So mewling pairs. So we have in the cage here a Norwich hen and a Norwich cock and a greenfinch hen. In the cage here we have a Norwich hen and a goldfinch, native goldfinch cock, and in the cage here we have a twite cock and a Norwich hen. So we've got 3 mewling pairs in here. We've got another one outside in the garage. That's a siskin mewling pair. So this show, it won't be as long as the usual episodes on the Canary Room. Thank goodness, I hear you all cry. But we will focus on our native British finches and some of our mewling pairs. So you'll get a fix from the room every week now. So it seems to be what you wanted. So hopefully I can do it justice and you'll enjoy those little mini episodes and the mini series that we put out for you there. Okay, well, still to come on the show. Let's have a look and see how these magnificent Norwich are getting on. spent a fair amount of time really focusing on the fifes over the last few weeks and the preparation of the fifes. This year, I am really, really determined and quite focused to breed some Norwich for the show bench. So regular viewers to the channel will know that I've had the Norwich Canary back in the room again now for 2 seasons. This will be the 3rd season of having Norwich. First year I had them, half a dozen reared, some nice quality birds, but nothing I thought that was going to trouble anyone on the show bench. Managed to make some lovely acquisitions from Keith last year. I bred some lovely birds, but didn't have much success in bringing them to adulthood. So sort of reset the plans for this year. We've got a buff cock behind me from Keith's room and a yellow cock behind me from Keith's room. And we've got some yellow hens and buff hens to go with them. My friends Richard and Arwell have, there's some of their birds in the room as well. So we've got a yellow feathered variegated, and I've got a white feathered variegated hen as well that I'm going to put with that. And I've got another white cockbird this time, and a buff hen bird that I will use as well. So not a massive volume of Norwich, and I'm hoping that will pay dividends this year. You know, the challenge always when you keep a small number of birds of one variety is losses can be quite catastrophic, and that's something really to think about in your own bird room. You know, having just come back from Stafford, I saw lots of different varieties of birds I liked. You know, I've kept lots of different varieties of canaries. Yeah, I love different varieties of birds. I love the Australian native finches. I love all kinds of birds, and you know, if I had the space, the room, absolutely I would keep, you know, more. But I haven't, and there is a balance to be struck, and it's one of the reasons this year that with the native finches I've sort of concentrated a little bit more on red poles. I'd like to get them on the show bench this year if I can. Yes, I have got twice, and yes, I've got siskins, and yes, I've got a pair of other things as well, but fundamentally, you know, it's red poles, and even then there's only, I think, probably 4 or 5 pairs of red poles we're putting down, so it's not huge numbers, and you are really sort of under the cosh if something goes wrong. So with the Norwich here, we've got a couple of really, really nice birds behind us. They're moving, they're fit, they're not got a great deal of weight on them anymore, and they've been singing their little hearts out. We've got, as I say, good plans for them, so keep everything crossed for us. So I'd like to get into double figures. I'll have sort of five breeding hens, so you know, ratios 2 a bird, 3 a bird, and give me, I think, 15 young, which would be ideal. You know, any more than that, I'll be doing cartwheels across the garden. So I mean, stay tuned for that if nothing else. So on to ratios. That time of the year when, you know, we think about the breeding hens we've got and the volume that we can expect, and the reality is it's different in all of the species. So my fifes, I anticipate really getting a yield of sort of 3 to 4 young per hen. Now that isn't a lot for a fife, and that's across the season. That's not a lot at all. The reason that it's that low is that I've got a number of hens, some of which didn't lay last year, so I think there's 2 hens in the mix that didn't lay for me last year. So there's a risk obviously with them, and you're thinking about, you know, 3 to 4 over 2 rounds. So because I run trios, sometimes you don't get every egg full, sometimes you don't get any eggs full, sometimes fifes won't rear a full nest. One of the things that I'm trying to do, rather than sort of moving hens singly, I want to move batches of hens at a time so that I can synchronise the nesting and rearing of young. So if I do have to foster birds, I'm going to be able to. The important thing to think about then, yield-wise, is what numbers does that sort of give us? And if we get 3 to 4, then that'll give us between 60 and 85 young, which is perfect for me. Red polls, different story. Red polls are fast breeders. So when a red poll lays and then incubates and then rears, red poll chicks, it's an 10 to 11 day incubation period. Red poll chicks are popping the nest, 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks old. They'll stay with the parents, obviously, and continue to be fed, but the parents will go back down again. So it does really depend with the red polls. Again, with the siskins, last time I bred siskins, I got 3 in a nest. So red poll nests can be 7, 6, but I think the most I've rung from the nest is 5 and reared 5. So yields depend on the different birds, and of course when it comes to the Norwich, well, we've got feeders in there, so we've got an extra complication as well. We've got to hope the feeders do their job. So think about that when you've got your birds in your room. Think about what kinds of yields you're looking for per bird. And of course the key thing to ensure is that you've got enough space for the young. Now, I joke around in the canary room about filling all of the cages. I haven't intentionally. I mentioned in the last episode, I think there's 20 plus cages in this room that will be empty for young, and we've got obviously the setup outside as well and the flights outside, so you need plenty of room, hopefully, for all of your birds and all of your young. So that's all we've got time for today. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you have, hit the like, hit the subscribe and the notification button, leave a comment below as well. Don't forget to catch us next week, the first in our new series of the Native Diaries. Until next time, everyone, take care.